Hey everyone, and welcome to Rockeyez. With us today is the legendary Jack Blades from Night Ranger. Jack has a new album entitled Rock and Roll Ride due to be released later this month on Frontiers Records. Jack, thanks for joining us here on Rockeyez, and congratulations on the new release.
Glad to be here and excited about everybody hearing the new record.
So, how did the whole idea or concept for the album come about?
Well, you know what? I love to write. I love to produce. I love to record. I love to play live. I love to do it all. And music is my life basically. And I just thought it was time to do another solo record. So actually, this record was done before the Night Ranger record that was released last year, before the Somewhere in California record was released, and we decided to put the Night Ranger record out first, and then I'd release my solo record.
And other than being the one of the tracks on the album itself, what made you decide on Rock and Roll Ride as the CD title, and does it have any particular meaning for you?
Well, I mean, basically, I started writing these songs, and I started coming up with these ideas for the songs, and it just everything I kind of just turned everything around to where what it was like, what it was for me, and what these songs sort of like what my whole like travel and my adventures of rock and roll was. And so it just kind of came around to where everything turned out to be sort of like autobiographical in a lot of ways, and I just decided to call the album Rock and Roll Ride because it's basically what it's been since I moved to Northern California in 1975.
What was different, if anything, in the songwriting process this time around as opposed to the work you've done with Night Ranger?
Well, with when you do a solo record, I think it gives you an avenue to be able to do stretch out and do more things that say you wouldn't be able to do in the confines of a band. Not to say that a band like holds you back and everything, but there's certain things when you're playing with five other people, you got to make sure that everybody's like feeling what you're feeling, and everybody's like digging on what you're coming up with and everything like that. And granted, I do write the lion's share, a lot of the Night Ranger stuff, and yet when you do a solo record, when I did the solo record, I found it really a sort of like a freeing experience, because I can go places where maybe Night Ranger we wouldn't normally go because of the twin guitars or this or that or the other, and things like that, and then and just the things that feel good to me. I don't have a sort of like a committee to like, we don't have to all look at it and go, I don't know, which I don't mind, but it just makes it more interesting, and in fact the song "Growing Up in California" that was the first release off the Somewhere in California record was actually written for my solo record. And Brad and Kelly heard it, just went, "Wow, dude, this is a Night Ranger track. We should put this on our new record." I'm like, "Okay, let's do it." So I kind of pulled it off my record and put it on that.
What I really like about this release is that when people see the name Jack Blades, they immediately think it's going to sound like Night Ranger. And while it does show a touch of that style from time to time, the album definitely stands on its own and seems to possess a wide variety of influences and styles. Did you approach the release with that specifically in mind and to show people a different side of you?
I think that those are all sides of me that are inside of me. I mean, you can see some of the Shaw Blades ideas in there. You can feel some of the sort of like the Americana in me, because I'm a Californian and I'm an American. I mean, a very like sort of like I'm a big Tom Petty fan. I mean, you can feel that. I mean, you can hear the Beatles influence on that, and then you can hear frickin' Thin Lizzy's influence on it, and things like that. And so I think that that's the fun part about making a solo record. You can kind of take the liberty to be a few more places on the map than you normally would venture with your band.
Mm-hmm. Now, your voice still sounds tremendous even after all these years, and something else I really like about the release is how you're even able to adapt to the different singing styles. For example, I definitely feel there's a strong Beatles influence on songs like Anything for You and West Hollywood, and even a bit of a Who influence on a track like Love Life. Is that something that comes naturally for you, or do you have to kind of train yourself to fit into that genre or style?
Well, I think that those are all just, like I said, once again, those are all facets of me. And what I try to do is I try to go where the song wants to go. You know what I mean? I don't try to make the song me. I try to, when I write a song, I kind of like to go where the song wants to go in the feel of the vocal, in the energy, in the excitement, or in the laid backness, or wherever the music is. I try to get them all. I try to have them in touch. There's nothing worse than like having a great track, and then you're going like, what was that freaking singer thinking when he was like, what the hell was he screaming for that? And the track, you know, cries for something else. You know what I mean? So I kind of like try to be very aware of the music and the track, and of course when Robin Zander came up when we wrote Anything for You, that was just amazing. I mean, he pulls up in a big old stretch limousine, and about 4 hours later he hops back in that limousine, and I looked at Will Evankovich, who sang on the record and engineered and stuff like that, and played some guitars. We just looked at each other and went, what the hell happened? I mean, it was the most creative 4 hours I ever spent in my life. I mean, Robin is so overly talented. It's just insane. And when we came up for Anything for You, the way he sang the chorus on that is just like freaking channeling John Lennon, as far as I'm concerned.
I noticed you used a lot of your fellow bandmates from Night Ranger on the release as well, both past and present. Why did you decide to stick with them instead of putting together a studio band, as most artists tend to do when they do a solo release?
Well, I mean, in Kelly, with Kelly and me, we just think exactly the same. So it's just a natural for Kelly to play drums on a lot of my tracks. And Brian Tichy is the drummer for Whitesnake, and I mean, he's a real good friend of mine, and he and I just see eye to eye. So I had Brian play a lot of the drums on it and stuff like that. And Joel Holkster, the guitarist for Night Ranger, really felt like he wanted to. He says, "Come on, man, let me do this. Let me play a lot of the let me play the guitars on the record." So I'm like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it," because I get along so well with Joel, and I can communicate. It's easier when you have a sort of like a vision. It's easier to sort of like carry the vision through when you can communicate easily with the guys. And Joel and I get along so well. And Joel's really, he kind of really knows what I like and knows what I want. I mean, like the solo on Anything for You was a total like a Harrison sort of like slide thing that he did, and I had him there just like kicking ass and rocking on Back in the Game and all those kind of things. So I just try to I just use people that I enjoy playing with.
How much influence, if any, did they have on the direction of the music itself, and was it difficult for them to adapt into getting into that mind frame that, hey, this is a Jack Blades release and not a Night Ranger album?
No, I think that it was everyone pretty much followed my lead and kind of like, here's the way I want it, here's the way I would like it and stuff like that, and fortunately enough, it wasn't one of those things where we did not send tapes around to have people like record on it. Everybody was with me in my studio when we were recording. So I was there going, no, that doesn't, no, I wanted to, like a solo on Back in the Game. I think Joel wanted to, he kind of felt like a different thing. I'm like, no, this is kind of what I wanted. And I kind of described it to him, and he jumped right on it and went for it and stuff like that. And the same thing with the drums. Like I said, Kelly, he just thinks, I think the same. So it's easy for Kelly just to, play on, on stuff that I come up with. And everyone else just sort of, here's what I wanted to do, and they went with my vision.
Mm-hmm. And you did a lot of collaborating with other talented composers and songwriters as well. Robin Zander, Colin Blades, Jim Petterick, just to name a few. What was it like working with them?
Well, I enjoy writing with other people. I enjoy sort of like spreading it around. I mean, I enjoy my theory is always two heads are better than one. I could sit back and write a whole album, myself and everything like that, but I love seeing what other people come up with, what other people's ideas are. I mean, I called Jimmy Peterick and said, hey, I'm doing a solo record. You need to fly out here. Let's write a couple songs. Man, he got the next plane out. He came out for a weekend, and we just nailed, Born for This and Rise and Shine, and Colin, the song West Hollywood. It was a song that my son Colin Blades had. I remember about 3 years ago, he was sitting in the kitchen. He was just strumming this idea, this like, are you experienced in love? I got to know. He's singing it and playing on the guitar and kind of singing the first verse. And I'm like, that's great. And then we just all forgot all about it. And then I was sitting down, thinking about what I'd like to do. And all of a sudden, I just started strumming that song and singing that. And I said, I'm putting that on my record. And so I finished it off. Finished off the verses and the song and everything like that, because it was just basically a half a verse and a chorus, and it just goes like that. I love working with other people. I'm a people person. I get along with people.
Hmm. Was there anyone you felt more comfortable with in their writing style over the others?
I mean, when you write with different people, it's different. It's different with every person. You know what I mean? And you kind of have to go with where that feel is going with the person. You know, and I think that's the key to collaborating on songwriting is like, to hear where that person is going with their ideas, and then at the end go with it, or not like push my sort of like the way I do it. I'd like to see like someone would come up with a guitar riff. I'd like to see where they go with it, because it might be someplace that I would have never have gone. I'm like, oh, that's great, and that's what I love about collaborating and everything like that. Just kind of going with it, and I've done it so much. I mean, I've co-written songs for years with so many different artists and everything like that, that it's I kind of you kind of know. I mean, you know how not to sit there and go, well, that's a stupid idea, you idiot. I mean, it's obviously that'll shut everything down real quick. But so I enjoy it. I really have a great time doing it, and I think everybody that writes with me has a fun time, because we always come up with something.
Hmm. Was there anyone's songwriting style or influence, or even just a song itself, that you found a little more challenging than the others?
I think that on Born for This, because Jimmy sang the verses with that when we demoed it out. I'm like, because he sang it like he was in the Ides of March, dun dun dun, like the black museum in the black museum. He kind of had this, it's like, I was born for this, and I'm like, shit, what the hell am I going to do with this thing? When I sat back and I'm like, I'll take a shot at. I was born for this. I was born for this. I'm like, all right, I can do that. It's like, white rose in a hand, dipping. I just sang it like Jack Blades would sing, sort of like that sort of thing, and it came out great. So, that was a bit of a, that was one of the ones I was like, I wonder how that's gonna come out. Maybe I won't be doing that one, but it's such a I really liked the song, and so I said, oh, man, I'm going to go in there and, go for it. And I did, and it came out great.
I know it's a little early, but what's the reaction been like from the people who've heard the release so far?
Everybody loves it. Everybody loves it. Everybody loves the video of Back in the Game. I dedicated it to all the troops that have given their lives to ensure freedom. And, I always wanted to make a war movie. I love the video, and that's actually my son Colin starring in the video. That's him in the he's the one that gets shot in the video. So he's the one that saves the day and gets shot.
Wow.
But anyway, it was really, really fun to make, really enjoyable, and it used up a lot of reenactors. Their attention to detail was just over the top, and I'm a big supporter of the military and Wounded Warrior Project, all that kind of stuff, and so I was really honored to be able to. I just had this idea for this video. See, that's something else that you could do when you don't have a solo record. When you have a solo record and you're not doing a band record, you don't have to talk a bunch of other guys into your idea for the song, for the video. And so it was like, nah, this is what we're doing, guys. And everybody's like, okay, that's what we're doing, and it just turned out great. And the reaction not only to the album, not only to the video, but to the record overall has been just everybody's has a different favorite. Like one day everybody loves Back in the Game, the next day everybody is really into Anything for You, and the next day it's like the trippiness of West Hollywood. The next day it's like Rock and Roll Ride, and then the next day it's Hey Now, the last song is really a bluesy thing that I just late at night got in there at 1 a.m. and just rolled the tape and just sang my guts out, and that was the first take. And I just changed a couple words, just cleaned up a couple words. I didn't even write them down. I just kind of went for it, and that was it.
Wow, that's incredible. This is a great, great track.
Thanks, bro.
Now, speaking of the video, as you just mentioned, so you came up with the concept behind the video itself?
Yeah. Pretty much, I wanted to do a sort of like a World War II war movie.
It's great. It's a very, very powerful video, and it's very, very impressive. What made you decide to go? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, especially it just means so much to me, because actually, to tell you the truth, the telegram I point to at the end is actually in my studio, and that's the telegram that my mother received December 26th, the day after Christmas in 1944. You know, the government telling her that her husband's been killed in action. My mom's first husband was killed over in Germany in December of '44.
Wow.
And those are actually his medals. He was a bit of a war hero, and that's his silver star and his Purple Heart that are engraved in the back of it. So I always had those things. They were always in the drawer of our house for years as I was growing up, and I put that thing on the wall because it just, we don't understand that feeling. I mean, how could, who would ever, some people do know that feeling, unfortunately, of getting that telegram, and so I always wanted to make something about that, and sort of like in memory of him too.
Wow. What made you decide on Back in the Game to go along with the video?
I just thought it was a rockin' track because it was just the whole idea of you just get back up and you're back in the game, man. Things are just, you're back in the game with, when the shit starts flying, bro. It's like you're back in the game, man. It's like war's the ultimate game, I guess, and it's like that's kind of, I felt that track was the best track to use on that because it was an aggressive rockin' track with a rockin' riff that was just, a massive riff.
Right. It is a killer track. It is definitely one of my favorites on the release. Now, I've seen you have a bunch of shows lined up this summer with Night Ranger. Will there be any Jack Blades shows specifically in support of the release, or are you just going to incorporate some of the songs in the Night Ranger set?
No, bro, I'm trying to figure out. I'd love to play. I think a lot of these songs are just screaming to be played live. Even the song, hardest word to say is, even the ballad. I think these songs are just screaming to be played live. So I'm gonna see if I can't maybe do some shows. Grab Joel, grab Will Vankovich, and grab maybe Brian Tishy or something like that, and go out and play some shows.
Are there any hopes of you guys playing in the States at all?
Playing in the States? I think so. I'd like to do that. Yeah, I'd like to play some shows.
So what can we look forward to next from Jack Blades?
Well, as we speak right now, I have Tommy Shaw up here at my ranch, and we're starting, finishing up we're about halfway through a new Shaw Blades record, so we're going to start up. He just went to the gym. He's going to be back. I told him I had to do an interview, so he's going to be back in about an hour. So we're doing some, we're finishing up a Shaw Blades record. There's more in store for Night Ranger. Of course, touring all summer. There's more music to come out of Night Ranger. There's more, recording to be done. There's so much more. It's just keep rolling and rolling and rolling.
Now, you've been in the business for many years now. Is there anything left that you'd really, really like to accomplish that you feel that you haven't just gotten there yet?
Boy, yeah, I'd love to someday write a song for a movie that gets like an Oscar or something like that, or gets an Academy Award or a Golden Globe. I got a Golden Globe nomination once, but I'd love to do a song that gets it, gets a Grammy or put another plaque on the wall. That's always fun.
Well, that's about it. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Is there anything else you'd like to add or say to your fans out there?
Bro, it's my pleasure. You guys need anything more from us, just, give my management a call. They'll hook the whole thing up, and you can just, we'll just, anything else you need, any pictures, anything, and stuff like that. And I just, life is, for me, it's been one rock and roll ride. I think for everybody it's a rock and roll ride. I think music is a soundtrack to everyone's lives. And that's why I think that when they play the Rock and Roll Ride record, they're going to feel that soundtrack of their lives start coming up and coming out in them, and that's what I love about the record.
Jack, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you again for taking the time to do this, and best of luck with the new release, and we hope to see you real soon.
Dude, I hope to see you. We'll see you in New Jersey sometime, huh?
I hope so.
Okay, bro.
Looking forward, man. You take care. Thank you so much again for everything. Bye-bye.